Stirring the coffee with chopsticks using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee at the molecular level. Good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, coffee. Nice. Black Rifle. An old guy turns to his friend and says, "I got new hearing aids." The friend says, "What kind?" The old guy says, "I don't know. I left my watch at home." Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I love this statement. You don't get permanently well until you permanently change the way you live. Seems like it would be common sense, right? That your wellness is a direct result of how you live. It's a consequence. There's a correlation between your current health and your lifestyle. That doesn't connect with a lot of people, though, which tells me that common sense isn't so common, is it? Cruising around the web yesterday on Craigslist, looking at the business section, and I'm seeing a ton of barbershops and salons for sale, almost given away. People who've been in business for decades are just saying, to heck with it. I know that eventually does happen, where businesses sell. But I think the you-know-what has kind of accelerated that. People just don't want to deal with the nonsense anymore. I'm looking at pictures of barbershops on Craigslist, barbershops that are for sale. They took pictures of them, but what I'm not seeing is plexiglass shields and all of the things that you have to do during the you-know-what. I think when they closed up and then they started back up again after the lockdown, I think they said, you know what? I've been doing this long enough, the hell with it, and they left. It's not like they're turning over a newly retrofitted or a newly fitted barbershop with you-know-what precautions. They just said, I'm not doing that. See ya. And they left it and put it up for sale. And they're giving it away. I'm seeing barbershops for sale for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, anywhere from 2 to 5 chairs. It's not a bad investment, even if you're not in the haircutting industry. The issue is this, is that you have to deal with the regulations. I know several people who have salons and barbershops but don't cut hair, but they have anywhere between 3 and 5 people working for them. One guy I know probably has about 10 people working for him, and he doesn't cut hair at all. And he pretty much just runs the business, manages, oversees, markets, that kind of thing. It can be done, but regulations are such a pain that I wonder if it's even worth it doing it anymore. The government needs to get out of the way of business rather than making it harder for people to do business. That's the beautiful thing about libertarian or conservative thinking. It's got less to do with the personality, the cult personalities of various politicians. And it has more to do with hands off. Stay out of my business. You're making it difficult for me to do business. Regulations are killing jobs. I was thinking yesterday about how I would love to change my relationship with social media. If I didn't have to be on social media, and here I am, what are we, 10, 11, 12 years maybe into Facebook, post MySpace. If I didn't have to have various social media platforms, I wouldn't. Some people say, well, if you're in a virtual business, you need to use those virtual tools. I agree. But also those tools can take over your life with various notifications, requests. What I'm looking for is the most absolutely streamlined way of doing business online. Move completely away from the brick and mortar. For those of you that don't know what that means, brick and mortar, it means a physical business, a location, a building that you have to go to work, which is what I would love to do, to eliminate going to a job, to a building, clocking in, signing in. That actually would be great. Now, I love cutting hair. It's a trade of mine. It's a family trade, and I'm proud of what I do. And I'm licensed in 2 states to do it, and I really enjoy it. But the regulations are just, the new regulations are tedious. Will I do it? Yes, because I enjoy what I'm doing. Will there come a time where they make it impossible or difficult for me to continue? Very well could be. It's hard to predict that. What I enjoy more than anything is working with people. I did it for decades, professionally as a therapist, and I loved that as well. And cutting hair is very similar to that. Instead of being in front of a person, talking with them, you are behind them, behind the chair, cutting their hair, talking to them. It's therapy light, I should say, or wisdom sessions light. And that's how I feel about cutting hair. Sometimes it's just a brainless thing. Sometimes, what did Freud say? Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Well, sometimes a haircut is just a haircut. But back to the regulations, as barbershops and salons and various spas, nails and massage and all these kind of personal service industry jobs, as these businesses start to reopen fully, people are going to either be tired of the new regulations, the mask wearing, the glove wearing, the constant disinfecting everything, the plexiglass shields, which is a huge buzzkill, takes the art right out of haircutting. But I'm wondering if the same joy will be felt in the future, because regulations crush joy. It's the same thing in relationships. When people start laying too many regulations on you, it takes the joy right out of the relationship. Hence, my thought yesterday that I need to change my relationship with social media. What I don't want to be doing is sitting on the couch and watching a movie with my wife, whoever that will be, and then I'm answering my phone or responding to a notification or a comment or an email. Right now, it's almost impossible for me to return the emails that come to me. It's just impossible. I literally can only get to maybe 1 or 2%, literally, maybe 1 or 2 a day. I just can't possibly get back with everyone. And I don't do this full time. I do 2 other things other than this. And it's difficult. And I can imagine being a married man and having a relationship with clientele and strangers reaching out to me, and still being sensitive to and attending to my wife, my family. Balance has to be struck. And here I am at my ripe young age, looking to find balance between me and social media before I throw an anchor down, or before I get into a long-term relationship, marriage. I don't even want to say long-term relationship anymore. I want to get away from that. I'm a marriage-minded person. I may never get married, but I am marriage-minded. But I don't have a pressure or I have a desire, but not a pressing need to be married. It's a nice, healthy place to be at. It's nice. Let me share with you some of the books that I'm reading. I've never done this before, but I have my little stack right here. This is Ayn Rand, or some people would say Ayn Rand. The book Anthem, I just started that. Very enjoyable. A slow reading book. You better have your dictionary by your side. But it's a good book. A short read, too. H.G. Wells, Time Machine. Just started that yesterday. Written in 1895, I believe. I can't wait to fly through this thing and just transport. A classic sci-fi. For the 5th time, Haunted Bookshop, and I'm nearing the end of that. I like reading this every couple of years. It's a great fiction story. Part 2 of the 2-part series. First is Parnassus on Wheels. Second is Haunted Bookshop. This is called The True Believer. Nationalist movements revive or invent memories of the past. Basically, it's about mass movements. And it's a classic by Eric Hoffer. This was recommended to me by actually one of you. And it's interesting doing a little bit of group therapy, so to speak, where I'm literally diving into the thoughts of groups and seeing what makes them tick and why people join radical groups. Now, I'm not talking about a hobby club, a cooking club, a Bible study, a little brew pub get-together. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about mass movements where people identify with a group. And literally, their looks change, their clothes change as a result of being with this group. We're seeing a lot of that in the past, I'd say 60 to 70 years. True Believers. I am so looking forward to diving into this book. What else am I reading? Michael Crichton, Great Train Robbery. I'm halfway through it. Love this book. I have a nice balance of fiction and nonfiction. And then, of course, the book that's taking me longer to read. I've been reading this for a year. It's called The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. I've gone through this and gone through this and gone through this. Underlined, have taken notes. Some of the pages are about to fall out. And now I'm going through it in a slow way, and I'm taking notes, as I usually do. So that's what I'm reading right now. 3, 4, 5, 6 books. And I read a few magazines as well. I don't get many magazines anymore. I get Garden and Gun, which I really enjoy. I used to get a magazine called Coastal Living, which I thought was incredible. It was just about houses and cottages near a beach, island living, beach living, that kind of stuff. And essays and stories and articles about construction, decor, food, lifestyle things, and it was kind of an escape. And then I think they stopped Coastal Living, and it might be available only online now. What else do I get? Travel and Leisure. I get Travel and Leisure magazine. That's a nice escape as well, and a nice easy read, but enjoyable. So as far as magazines, Garden and Gun, Travel and Leisure. So 2 things. What books are you reading right now? Do you read more than one book? Or do you have several books that you're going through at any given time? What kind of reader are you? Answer me. Put it down below. And if you're reading more than one book, what are those books? I'd like to see your list of what you're currently reading. And then also, do you read magazines? I have found myself less and less interested in magazines and only have a few coming to the house. And reading magazine, quote unquote, magazines online or online magazines, I have no interest in it. I literally like physical magazines. For instance, this month in Garden and Gun magazine, there is it's a nice substantial magazine. It feels good. It's a solid cover. This is not just a thin paper cover. It's a solid magazine. It's the kind you hang on to when you're done with it because it's always interesting. Now, magazines in the past, there are many that I've read and you just throw them out, or you just put them on a coffee table somewhere, or you take them to work, or I take them to the waiting room at the salon or something like that. Tear my address off and then put them in the waiting area. But it's a very substantial, it's big, it feels good, it's heavy, worth getting. Garden and Gun magazine. I think you'll like it. But in this month, there's an article on mudlarking. And I think it was my mother who also gets this, told me about it. What a great article it is. Mudlarking. Do you remember my conversation with Nicola White in London about mudlarking? So when I saw that, I thought, oh, how relevant. You might like it. Let me ask you a question. Do you work a job for the healthcare benefits? Medical benefits. I took a poll. I asked the question, do you work a job for their healthcare plan? 26.8% said yes. 48.3% said no. 4.9% said they get their benefits from their spouse's work. And 20% said, what healthcare benefits? What do you do for your health care? Do you have an insurance plan? I'd like to see if you have an insurance plan. And how do you get it? Is it from your work? And here's a question which is kind of philosophical in nature. Should health care be connected with a job? Healthcare benefits were not always connected with jobs. They were an incentive to keep people on the job and get people to come to a company. Ethically, is that correct? Philosophically, what do you think of that? I'd like to see your answer down below. With my quote-unquote new mask life, I was looking at all the masks that I have. I have a lot of different kinds of masks. I have like these ones that you tie on. You literally tie it on. I have a washable 3-ply. It's like made of t-shirt material. Bought a bunch of these and just loop them around your ear. I have these ones from work with the elastic, like that. And then the N95 masks as well. What kind of masks do you wear if you wear a mask? And what have you found to be the most effective? What have you found to be the least restrictive as far as your breathing is concerned? I find when I put on the N95, I feel like someone's cupping my mouth and my nose, and it's very hard to breathe. These cloth ones pull on my ears, they're uncomfortable. The little cheap elastic ones are the least, what's the word? I can breathe the easiest, and I know I don't get a good seal on my face, but I guess it's good if you're coughing or something so you're not spreading anything like that. What do you wear? I can't even believe I'm having a conversation about mask culture, and I'm not crazy about it. And I know most of you aren't either. The entire world is being obedient little children, not because they're inspired, not because of cooperation, not because they're so compassionate about life, but out of fear. When I see people with masks on, I don't see compassion. Like, do it for your neighbor, do it for the world. If you love people, I don't see that. I see fear. Masks equal fear. They don't equal concern. That doesn't mean that, let me put it this way. I am not going to not wear a mask and be a dick about it, because you never changed, and you never win the no mask argument with someone who's demanding that you wear a mask. Never. You can't. It's impossible to win that argument. And that just developed in the past 4 months. So what, do you never go shopping, ever? Do you never walk into a store? Now masks are in my car. They're in my truck. One hanging on the mirror, one in the glove compartment, one on a seat, one on the stick. So I just grab one, put it on before I walk in the door, rip it off as soon as I walk out. Some arguments are worth having, some aren't. How much of your soul will you sell? It's not normal. It doesn't take long for the abnormal to become normal if enough people do it. One of the reasons why I am diving into this book on the behavior of groups and groupthink, mobthink, mob psychology. And a repeat from yesterday, 2020, what a great year to fly past everyone else who is hunkering down in fear. Always remember this, crisis equals opportunity. Every time you see a crisis, give thanks, because it means there's an opportunity for you. And with that, finish your coffee, and I'll see you tomorrow on the Daybreak Show, your home of sanity, clarity, and reason. JM Bullion is an online precious metals dealer offering physical gold and silver bullion that is delivered directly to your door. Established in 2011, JM Bullion has shipped over 2 million orders and done over $3 billion in sales. Featuring a wide product selection, market-leading and straightforward pricing, top-notch customer service, and I can tell you, it is top-notch, and free shipping on orders of $99 and up, JM Bullion should be your go-to precious metals dealer.